my dears, today we would like to discuss certain imaginary possibilities. You know, the power of imagination is the key element that makes a poet successful. Even though Milton, the great poet, lost his vision, he wrote his epic poem, Paradise Lost. Even if you go blind, you can imagine things. And let me tell you one of my imaginary possibility. If I met Milton, I would tell him of my lost paradise. Everybody has a sort of heaven in their life. So I was just making an imaginary possibility. What was it? If I met Milton, is it possible for me to meet Milton is no more? But I'm imagining certain thing, okay? If I met Milton, I would tell him of my lost paradise. And let's, everybody would like to speak about such imaginary possibilities. Here are a few. If he won the lottery, he would go to America. Winning a lottery is not a sure possibility, but one can imagine anything, If Richard knew research, he could develop a COVID vaccine. If Chris blew the pipe, virus would follow him. My pure imagination. A possibility. If God demolished the earth and sustained Jupiter, humans would take birth in there. That's also a least possible thing, but we can think about an imaginary possibility, okay? Now, if you sold dairy milks free of cost, you would spread a smile everywhere. Will anybody sell dairy milks free of cost? A pure imagination of mine. Now, if Sophia knew coding, she could develop an AI system. Better than Google Assistant. A pure imagination, right? If this earnest fellow passed UGC NET, he could work as an assistant professor. Now, if Juliet broke her family relationships, Romeo could win her earlier. If music healed COVID-19, we could fill the whole earth with it. Now, another way of telling your imaginary possibilities. Until now, how did we say? We used a past tense form of the verb in if clause, and in the main clause we have used would or could plus the base form of the verb. Now let's see some other examples which also tells us about imaginary possibility. If Priyanka owned an aircraft, she might visit every village. If John invited Bachchan, he might come for the party. If the leaders lose their vision, people might strive hard. If all the doctors refrained themselves from their duties, the COVID-19 death toll might rise to incredible levels. Doctors don't do that, right? Doctors are the personalities who are actually meant to save people. They never refrain from their duties. If we invented sensible robots, our race might get extinct. It's a very least possibility. A right chance for such a possibility. Almost no possibility. Humans are humans. And robots are robots. Now we have spoken this imaginary possibilities by using might also in the main clause. In the if clause, if you look at the examples, in the if clause we have used the simple past form of the verb, and in the main clause we have used would or could or might plus the base form of the verb. Now let's see some more examples. If I were the Spider-Man, I would serve poor people. Is there a possibility for me to become a Spider-Man? No possibility, a rare possibility. Or we can say it's a pure imagination. If we were born with wings, we could fly. If I were you, I might not give up. Can I be you? No. So these are all imaginary possibilities. Now, what do we call such a sentences which speaks about imaginary possibilities using simple past tense in the if clause and could or would or might plus base form of the verb in the main clause? We call such a sentences type 2 if conditionals. So, I hope you got the idea from the examples. Type 2 if conditionals are used to express imaginary possibilities or wishes. I tell you one example. My wish, if we were born with wings, we could fly. Okay, wishes or imaginary possibilities. Now, this is a simple rule regarding construction of type 2 if conditional. Use simple past form of the verb in if clause and would or could or might plus base form of verb in main clause. Alright, now let's see one more final example. If I were the educational minister of Kerala, I might ensure infrastructure development of all government schools. So, the condition is specified in the if part. Okay, if I were the educational minister of Kerala. It's a rare possibility, or we can say no possibility, or it's just an imaginary possibility of me becoming an educational minister. But I just imagine, and it's my wish that all the government schools are given a very good infrastructure so that children can learn without financial difficulties. Get the best quality education when the government offers. Okay, so that's an imagination of mine, rare or least or no possibility at all for me becoming the educational minister of Kerala. Alright, so I hope you understood what is the application or what is the function of type 2 if conditional. It's this to express an imaginary possibility or a wish. Now we can see this example. If the little boy made an app, they would record his name in the Guinness book. Okay? The same sentence can be rewritten in another way. If they played Beethoven's music, it would surprise him. This sentence as well can be written in another way. Let's see those. If the little boy made an app, his name would be recorded in the Guinness Book. If they played Beethoven's music, he would be surprised. What's the difference between these two? See, in the first set of examples, I have followed the exact rule would plus base form of the verb in main clause. But in the second set of examples, you can see it's would be recorded or would be surprised. The subject and the object are interchanged. When do we make such an interchange? It's when we write a sentence, active voice sentence, in the passive voice form. So that way also sometimes you can see the sentences in type 2 conditionals. Okay? See this example. Now my another wish, if I were a magician, I would send out COVID warriors bouquets from the vacuum to appreciate them. If I were a superhuman, I could fly over mines. If Mother Teresa and Madame Curie were here, they might fight coronavirus with love and light. If he got a magic lamp, he would light every poor man's hearth and thus their minds. So my dears, these were all examples for type 2 if conditionals, and thanks for watching. Alright? Make fantastic imaginary possibilities using type 2 if conditionals. Okay? Thank you.